The Wolf and Bull podcast was prepared, conducted, and hosted by the Wolf and Bull team in their personal capacity. This podcast is for expressive listening entertainment, and any views, ideas, or opinions may or may not extend past the boundaries of this podcast. Conversations or specific comments on behalf of the hosts and guests are for entertainment purposes only. Due to language and potentially offensive topics, listener discretion is advised.
Yeah. Obscure dad sounds.
Are those what those are? I thought those were more Alex Jones ones than obscure dad sounds. We got like a sheath of paper here. An entire sheath. Sheath? Why?
There you go.
Why?
There you go.
Why?
There you go.
Why?
Yeah, we do have an entire sheath. Because
I want to know why. Is that a specific kind of?
If it's pointed directly at it, because if it's like this, it's going up that way.
You just lowered your voice on purpose to make it sound like.
No, I didn't. I didn't.
What if I rattle a sheet of paper
here? Just moving the mics. Oh my goodness! What a week! What a week!
Yes, another week has fallen into historical context. And we still don't know what the hell it meant.
I have no idea I don't know what I'm doing anymore.
Usually when things go beyond you, when things go into the column of history, which is
into the dark abyss of history,
because there is never a present. It's either the past or the future. Because as soon as you say present, it's actually not present anymore. It's past. So historically, you would think after a period of a week or 2 weeks or a month or a year and a half or whatever else, we'd have enough framework around what the hell's going on out there to figure out why things are the way they are. But there is no why anymore. There is no, it used to be who, what, where, when, why. I'm just truncating the whole why thing. Why is like, it's at the near end of the alphabet. It might as well be just chopped off like a dog's tail.
We're getting real meta.
Like a wolf's tail.
Intro. Hey, we're getting real meta in the intro. I haven't even introed the podcast yet. Any people that are listening, anybody out there, hello.
This is not a podcast. It's a rant-a-cast.
Yeah, I guess that's one way of putting it. Welcome to the Wolf and Bull podcast, episode 26.
Oh my God.
We're getting up there. We're almost to my age. Dear God.
What?
Yeah.
How old are you in dog years?
395. We're almost getting there. We're getting up there in episode count. Things are getting either more interesting for some people or more boring for others. I don't know. I am interested in all topics, so I consider myself an unbiased listener.
I would say you're an unbiased listener, but you're a biased caster.
That's a biased statement.
A bicaster. You're not a bystander, you're a bicaster.
I don't know. What is a bicaster? What is that?
A biased podcaster is a bicaster.
I don't know. It's kind of a weird.
Well, you could be a
podcaster that goes to different podcasts at once.
Well, apparently you go both ways.
Yeah, I knew you were going to go there. You're welcome. I set up the pitch and you knocked it out of the park. But yeah, welcome to the episode 26, the Wolf and Bull podcast. I am the Wolf.
And I am the Bull.
That's the Bull. And just before we start and jump into the topic today, if you like what you hear, go ahead and leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. As you may know, it's a very tough podcasting world out there. So if you want us to grow our family and get larger and maybe potentially form the Church of the Wolf and Bull one day, to which you could potentially be someone that joins it.
Did I hear that the wolf wants to grow his family? Are you talking about procreation here?
Yikes. We're not going there at episode 26. Dear God.
Are there little wolf pups
no,
that we
God.
need to know
Oh, my God. Not right now. Yeah, but leave us a review. Give us a follow on Instagram. And go ahead and jump into our weekly listening schedule on Spotify. Things will be changing soon. I will be changing into a giant bear. And we also may have some co-hosts and guests increasing. So We're spreading our wings.
In other words, we're going to increase from one guest to multiple
5.
guests.
Yes, to 5 guests at once. And what I meant by co-host is guest co-host. There's no one that could ever replace the bull. I'm replaceable.
Am I getting kicked out that I'm not knowing about?
No, not at all.
Are you really trying to put the bull out to pasture?
No, I have the technology to include you. Also, unnamed sponsor.
Yay.
Oh, how are you?
That was quite the gulp.
Yeah, I'm very thirsty.
Yeah, I'm doing fine.
Yeah.
I am. I'm a little ornery.
Okay.
I'm kind of an ornery bull these days.
Ornery?
Both. Usually, always one, sometimes the other, and I'll let you guess which
Can't
is which.
stop.
Damn it. Snort away on the hill. Well, bulls have horns, which means...
God.
What do you mean? You got
Christ.
Has nothing to do with him.
Oh, God.
But anyway, I was telling someone earlier today that my fuse is incredibly short these days. And I'm kind of worried about it because I usually recognize when my fuse is short, and I can, occasionally I'll I always filter nearly everything I say. You might not believe that out there hearing some of the weird shit I do say, but it usually is filtered.
Yeah.
But when the fuse is as short as it's been recently, man, stuff just snaps out. So if I snap on this podcast today and you hear crashing and thrashing about, then you'll know somebody has absolutely snapped. Other than the wolf.
I don't know is that a threat?
Well, we
I'm kidding.
It the way you'd like it, Wolfie.
Yeah, no, I get where you're coming from. It's getting strange, getting real weird. No one asked, but I'm going to say it anyway. I'm doing terrible. I have a giant Mount Vesuvius shaped pimple on my neck.
That's why I didn't ask.
Giant neck.
I noticed it
you can see it through the hoodie.
Yeah.
It's like an animal, a small dog-sized spider decided to bite my neck.
You got to be careful of those things because people have been known to actually grow second, heads and shit.
Oh, that's happened.
I know.
Have you ever had that happen to you?
No.
Yeah, it's legitimate.
Really, truly, there's
that's what I'm saying.
Genetic thing, and the teeth grow in there.
Well, not like that. I'm talking about a deeper...
The toe bro or the pimple popper or something like that, and the whole thing just...
Now we're in a different place. I'm talking about a deeper subhead of the pimple. It's really not that big.
No, I'm talking about a real genetic anomalous
No, I've never
growth.
had a second...
It's like the humpback of Notre Dame coming out of the side of your
I've never
skull.
had that happen to me.
Well, look it up sometime. They've taken these things out of people and sliced and diced them up and found teeth in hair.
That's disgusting.
Swear.
Yeah, I don't not believe you. I believe what you're saying.
Double negative.
I believe what you're saying.
I'm disappointed. Double negatives, giant pimpleage going on.
We're 8 minutes in, and he's already getting angry.
I told you I got a short fuse today. Oh my God. And I know it's going to be shorter as soon as you tell me what the hell's going on in the world out there because I've been trying to avoid it.
Are we going to talk about the news?
I think we have to.
Okay. Well, as everyone with ears, eyes, and a brain has noticed, things are getting way more expensive. Isn't that always fun?
Hey, by the way, before I forget, did they nudge the asteroid toward us or away from us?
I saw something today. I don't have it pulled up, but I saw something today that says, according to a newfound study, a nuclear weapon actually would assist in destroying an asteroid. Like Bruce Willis's movie. So, guys, if an asteroid, like we talked about last episode, actually does come into a collision course with the Earth, expect us to send Bruce Willis up there. I'm predicting this because I believe that, and we'll get into this in a second, I believe there is a giant grouping of powerful people that live in Hollywood that predict and then control all of the little throat burp there that predict and control all of reality.
I think you're absolutely right.
Joking.
And I think there's probably
not joking
a different nefarious reason that Captain Kirk just went up in the Blue Yonder. 90 years old, he went up there. I'm telling you, he is Captain Kirk. He's not an actor. He's really Captain Kirk. I think he came back. And he's going up there to point out some things that we haven't seen yet. I think he had to do it. He had to go there. There's something going on Don't know what it is, but there's something going on.
Before
and
starting
when they came back, there was a guy with pointy ears with him. So I have no idea.
Before starting this podcast, I really didn't have any quantifiable measure of how giant of a nerd you are until you started bringing, which is okay. I'm a big nerd too. I have Adam Driver dressed as whatever his face is from Star Wars up in the closet, and I also have some Star Wars stuff here.
So you're saying that Adam Driver's in the closet? Is that what you're saying?
Oh God, no, I hope not. I mean, he seems it would be interesting. That would be very interesting, actually.
Well, he wears a black cape, and
it could be.
I
just don't need more drama. I don't need any more drama. I don't need any more changes right now. Because according to new data, troubling consumer sentiment data points to looming recession, which, ding, ding, ding.
Surprise, surprise.
Surprise, surprise, guys. We opened the box of kitty cats, and now they're all over the place.
Well, it's like I think we talked about this last week. You spend, and you pay no attention to what's in your bank account, and suddenly there's nothing there. Yeah. And for whatever reason, we're able as a country to borrow against having no money. Mm-hmm. So you have no money and you're a good credit risk?
Yeah.
What does that say about the rest of the world?
That nothing exists and this is all simulation. But on October 7th...
See, I usually don't say that till 42 minutes in.
Well, it's at 11 minutes in, so about thereabouts. But on October 7th, David Blanchflower of Dartmouth College and Alex Bryson of the University College of London released a paper entitled The Economics of Walking About and Predicting U.S. Downturns. Recalling the failure of analysts to predict the 2008 recession, the economists argued that the wisdom of crowds held by non-expert economic actors is often superior to the knowledge of experts. Accordingly, rapid downturns in consumer sentiment surveys, especially those of the Conference Board and the University of Michigan, have successfully predicted recessions for the past 4 decades. So the economists that said this, they wrote, "We show consumer expectations indices from both the Conference Board and the University of Michigan predict economic downturns up to 18 months in advance in the United States, both at a national and at state level. All recessions since the 1980s have been predicted by at least 10 and sometimes many more point drops in these indices. These are clear downward movements in consumer expectations in the last 6 months, which, according to our rules of thumb regarding 10-point declines, would suggest the economy of the United States is entering recession now, autumn of 2021. So even though employment and wage growth figures suggest otherwise, which I have said in other episodes that it is all bullshit. It's all fungible data. It is all nonsense.
I think that's kind of what you have to consider anytime you look at these numbers, that the people that control the numbers can manipulate the numbers in a way to make them look one way or another, at least by a measure of a degree of change or degree of difference from reality.
Yeah.
And they do that intentionally to push through programs, to get certain regulations done, to stay in or get new power, whatever the case may be. There's all these other reasons. And the truth, which should be in the center frame of our focus at all times, is the thing that's off to the side, the thing that you look and is in your periphery vision. You can barely see anymore. And it's not because you're looking the wrong way. It's because somebody is turning your head the wrong way.
Yeah.
That's what makes me so angry about this. There's always a truth. Nothing is always completely black and white, but the truth is framed within a narrow scope. It's that Overton window we talk about. Overton window is talking about conversations amongst people or groups, and there's crossover and understanding. But in terms of this window, there's a parameter around a set of truths that is stable. And that when you get outside those things, those are further and further gray and further away from the truth. What's happened now is that people have pulled that curtain apart so far, and they're saying that truth is whatever you want to say it is. Well, that's total bullshit. It's always been bullshit. It will always be bullshit.
Yeah.
Someone's from a grumpy. Bowl, I would know.
Yeah, someone's grumpy. And just for our listeners, this article in particular is from the Daily Wire. They're a little bit more conservative leaning. But back to the article, they basically talk about how the employment rate has gradually fallen through 2021. Obviously, if anyone is paying any attention, there are other worrying indicators that indicate a rampant increase in shortages, rising inflation, and a stagnant labor force. So all of these things are indications of recession. Let's all hope to God that it's not something worse than recession, even though there are massive amounts of stagflation right now. that could lead to something worse than recession. So all I can say is welcome to the first 12 months of the next 3 years, 4 years, 10 years, 50 years, 100 years, 200 years.
Wow.
1,000 years.
Keep going.
The end of time.
There you go.
So, I mean, obviously things can change. We have a habit when it comes to the United States of whenever we get involved in a weird economic crisis, we also like to get involved in war. So I'm sure that's going to be around the corner. But, who knows? We don't know. No one knows anything. That's what I've learned. No one knows anything.
What's interesting is if you look back at different conflagrations, different wars that are out there.
Big word.
I like it because it sounds like fire.
I'm going to use another big word, superfluous.
Ooh, very nice. That's very hyperbolic of you.
Hyperbolic?
I like hyperbolic.
Is that like a tomato thing on the side?
Well, no, it's hyperbolic, really.
Oh, wow, I said it wrong too.
No, you said it right.
Bullock. I said Bullock. Like Sandra Bullock. Hyperbolic.
Well, I can understand why you said it like
Sandra Hyperbolic.
Because I would say it like Sandra Bullock is if I could.
What happened to her? Did she die?
No, she became director. She said, I'm tired of this in front of the camera bullshit.
What was that football movie?
It's the left side. Cover the left side or whatever.
The blind side.
Cover the left side. Cover your blind side, damn it.
I'm David Attenborough. Cover the left side. This is a political documentary about the downfall of Northern Ireland.
Does not sound like David Attenborough. You know Attenborough, who he's the voice of, right?
He's the Nat Geo guy.
No, but who else?
But it's probably David Attenborough. That's better.
There's a different Attenborough. Justin would tell us who this is, but is it
Justin Timberlake?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Justin Timberlake knows exactly who Attenborough is. Who is the voice of
You're
either
not
Winnie the Pooh?
You're not going to get it from me. I have no idea. I'm not
Christopher Robin, one of those guys.
Not a big
no?
Winnie the Pooh guy.
Eeyore?
Yeah.
I don't know.
No.
Piglet?
As a 30-year-old man dog, I don't have
dog?
any reference point on Winnie the Pooh.
I would tell a man dog to pause that thought, but that's too much like a... Anyway, I'll leave it there. I'll leave it there. What the hell were we talking about?
We
Besides
were ending
David Attenborough.
We were ending the depressing conversation about the recession, and now we're going to go into an even more depressing conversation. You know what the reality of this is, though?
If you're feeling depressed about things at any time,
take drugs.
Well, that too. But what you should actually do is always think about
drugs.
Winnie the Pooh.
Drugs.
Winnie the Pooh.
Drugs. Well, I'll go ahead and jump into the next news segment. So, in other funny, hilarious news that a lot of people were just kind of like, told you so about early on, about 8 months to a year ago, Biden came out today and admits that his $3.5 trillion plan probably won't pass, and that the free community college aspect of it has been axed. Biden said on Friday that...
What?
I know.
What?
Well, we
no
can't
free
pay
community
for
college?
Everything. Yeah. He admitted on Friday that his $3.5 trillion social spending plan won't pass Congress as proposed, and that the free community college program is one of the items that make it cut. To be honest to you, we're probably not going to get the $3.5 trillion this year. This sounds like Bill...
you know what?
It sounds like Bill Clinton.
Monica, we're going to get something less than that. But I'm going to negotiate, Lewinsky. I'm going to get it done.
The president said. Funny, sad enough, by the way, because no one wants anything bad to happen to someone.
Is he older than Bill Clinton
he's
right
young,
now?
Yes, he is. But Clinton's actually right now in the hospital.
He is.
Yeah, he developed sepsis from something. I'm not even joking. Developed sepsis. Hillary was yesterday in the hospital, seen with him, obviously wearing a mask and with the people around her. But he's doing fine. He's what's the term when you're coming out of something?
Stable?
No, there's another term they use.
Recovering?
But it's on the
ICU?
not the men's. Is it the men's? On the men's? On the men's?
On the mend.
Mend.
He's on the mend.
On the men's.
He's on the Mensa.
On the men's.
He's a Mensa.
Sounds like a
I don't
British
think he's
term.
He might be a Mensa. He was a Rhodes Scholar, wasn't he?
No.
Yes, I believe so. He was at Rhodes.
But anyway, he wish him, as much as I don't like him politically, I wish him well. Actually, no, he wasn't that bad. He wasn't that bad as a political leader. He had his downfalls, but there's been worse. There has been worse. But Yeah, he said that he doesn't know he can get it done, and this he being Biden said that he doesn't know he can get the $3.5 trillion deal done. But he also proposed the free community college, so he's trying to get those things going. Left-wing Democrats have insisted that the $3.5 trillion price tag was already a compromise, and that they're threatening to derail a Senate-passed $1.2 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill if too much is removed from the larger proposal. So once again, we are at a stranglehold of compromise between the two parties.
Hold. Why are the Democrats compromising at all?
I said stranglehold of compromise. I'm not saying they are compromising. I'm saying they're strangling the compromise.
Well, whoever's strangling whatever they're strangling sounds like a personal problem. But
Congress,
it's choking something, but choking the whole thing off. But the why are they? Why? It sounds like the roosters here again.
Turkey.
But why are they doing this at all? Because according to what I heard, the whole thing costs absolutely nothing. It's zero.
All right, let's not get
there's
too.
No,
let's
there's
not
no
get
money
too,
involved here at all, is it?
Hey, let's not get too condescending. Everyone
I'm not condescending.
knows that
That's
the dollar
exactly
is
the words are said out
from
of
Pelosi.
And others.
Yeah, everyone knows
Biden
the dollar is worth zero.
Patuki, whatever. Psaki.
Jen Psaki. Yikes. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, obviously, my position on this is we need to stop spending money because that keeps rising the rates of inflation, and
I think we should just spend it all.
Well, if we get rid of the debt limit.
More. You know why? Because I'm old.
Yeah.
Us old people, we don't care about young people at all. Yeah. We don't care about any generation before us because we think you're all shit anyway.
Yeah,
right?
Makes
Apparently.
Sense. I mean,
so we don't care. We don't care about our
trillion.
children. We don't care about our grandchildren. We care about nothing but ourselves. End of story. Drop the mic.
And that has been the 26th episode of the Wolf Bowl.
But that's what people are saying out there. What the hell is that about? Why would anybody think such stupidness?
I think that,
because
wait a sec.
Stupidness. That was a terrible
stupidness.
sentence.
Why would some people...
stupidness.
Why?
Well, that was terrible.
I don't think you
Shame
said
on
it.
you.
You
had a bunch better...
You insensitive bull. A part of your generation of insensitive, hateful people.
My generality.
I think the problem is not necessarily the generation. The problem is certain groups within the generation. Same with millennials, same with Xers, same with Zoomers. There are only certain minority demographics that seemingly always make the catastrophic decisions that lead to generational catatonic bullshit.
You know what the problem is with all this generational talk and demographics, all that, which I agree with a lot of what you say when we talk about these lines of separation that occur and the differences in kind of a formulaic way of thinking and all that. I agree that those are there, but one of the problems we have is we create these narratives to explain things, and we enforce things that aren't really there. We some of them are there, some of them are not. But when we put these parameters around them, we reinforce those things as if they're dominant. And they weren't. They were tangential.
That's true, but I think the problem that a lot of people aren't taking into consideration is that almost every generation has some semblance of groupthink, which turns into group shift. With yes, they do. Yes, they do. Yeah, I can give you a prime example right now. My generation, BLM, group shift, groupthink. Everyone decided to jump on the bandwagon because it was the thing that everyone was doing without thinking about what the effects or the causes of getting on that bandwagon would be. That's why millions of dollars
happens through every generation.
That's what I said.
All time.
Yeah, every single generation.
But
so
it happens.
There's differences though.
But my point is you're saying it's generational. I don't think it's certainly groups. It's identity
I would say
groups.
It's generational.
But I don't think it's generational.
Because
half of that BLM was 40-something white inner city females,
not
with soccer
not
moms.
Not the people.
Sure they are.
No, not the people that were marching and destroying stuff.
I didn't say rioting and destroying.
What I'm talking
That's
about.
always young idiots that don't know what they're doing. That's always been the case.
But
every demonstration ever is young.
Yeah, but that plays into it.
Watch Les Mis sometime.
The
people that died on those ramparts there were all 18.
So my point in this, and I think it's a valid point, is there are in every group, every generational group, a young, dumb demographic that decides to do something that shifts something. Yes,
I think 100%. It's just young chemical imbalance. It has nothing to do with...
It's historically, yes it is.
No, I think it's just for today... So everybody's chemical makeup at a certain age is just shit.
Okay.
We're transitioning. Our bodies are changing. We're just this messy soup of emotions and nonsense going on at all times. We're trying to figure out whether we need a beer or to study or to go try to procreate. That's what happens at a certain age amongst a good group of people. But it's an age group. And the only reason that you can look at it as a demographic difference or a generational difference is what is happening at the time that sparks those imbalances and makes somebody react. That's why what kind of flame you're using, what kind of fire, what kind of wood you're using.
Yes, but that's true. But my point is, I think that has a greater effect. I don't think that there is randomness to the outcome of that effect. So, for example, you've got let's take the 60s because it's such a reminiscent era to today. People in that demographic, same as mine, at that point were protesting war. They were protesting the government. They were doing the exact same, similar, everything isn't real, man, type of stuff that we're doing today when it comes to the infrastructure is broken. We need to fix everything.
It's just a different moniker.
But the difference, there's a significant difference here. Back then, they didn't have an instant gratification aspect to their society.
Sure they did.
Not to the degrees of today.
Oh my God. It was exactly the same. Yeah.
No,
let's go out and pitch a tent in the middle. Literally, figuratively, everything.
I disagree with that.
Flower power, man.
But that's not
get
instant.
a commune. Instant gratification at all times. Let's be drugged up.
I'm talking about return. So with that type of stuff, everyone back then in the 60s, the 50s, when it comes to civil movements and social movements, they understand that there's a lagging time period here. As time has gone forward, things have sped up. When it comes to stuff like
information is sped
that's
up
my
everything.
point. So these generational movements. Individually, like so for the 60s they had the flower power fight the government. For the 70s it was very much a very odd mix of drug use and fear of serial killers,
which was world type that's
scenario. Always
been the case. I think we're kind of saying the same thing from two different ends as we often
do. But I think the difference is I'm trying to tie this into a reasoning as to why things are the way they are right now. And why what you brought up is relevant, because people are blaming a certain demographic because that demographic has spun out of those type of scenarios. And they'll blame my demographic later on too.
Yes. All I'm saying is that the outcomes and the decision-making on which fire to light changes every generation, but the underpinning makeup of human beings.
Oh, that hasn't
and
changed.
That's what I'm saying.
That hasn't changed.
And what I'm trying to get across here is that we differentiate from generation to generation based on these seeming differences. My generation is doing this important thing, and your generation didn't. Right? That's kind of the way every generation, young generation, looks at the older generation. You were builders and you did this, but you fucked us up because you were the helicopter parents and you wanted better lives for us, so you screwed us up by trying to give us a better life. That's kind of the theme I hear a lot today. And I'm not denigrating that. It's in part true. But what I'm saying is that the underlying formula is it's just this time lag. That's all it is. Well, it's the same thing. It's a different group making different decisions with the same underlying emotional.
I think the consistency of decision making has changed, though. I think rather than being a broad output of independence and creating something for yourself and fighting against the power, there's almost been a social inversion. In the sense that, we want to protect our kids, so let's keep them inside and not let them go outside. We're not going to teach them, constructive abilities that otherwise we learned and the generation prior to us learned and prior to that learned when it came to engaging the world. That's why I think for the very first time, for at least in a long time, when it comes to the independence level and age demographic of leaving the home, we've gone up in age instead of going down.
Part of that is the economics for getting out of your
which
house.
I think also plays into the mention that you talked about a second ago, because there are certain indicators when it comes to the economic side of things that wouldn't otherwise be the way they are without specific decision making on part by the government and on part by certain demographics.
Well, I certainly agree that the kind of outcomes from certain age groups as they age now, the younger age groups as they get up into their mid and late 20s, early 30s, things like that, things change dramatically. in part because the expense for taking your next step is much, much greater than it was at the time, even as a percentage of someone's overall income. You know, when I paid $26 a credit hour when I went to university, I mean, that's unfathomable today. $26. You can't even go to Starbucks for that.
How much was a coffee back then?
I didn't drink coffee until I was probably 40.
You have an idea, though? Like a roundabout idea? I mean, obviously they didn't have like Starbucks back then. Like a nickel.
They Dunkin' Donuts was about it.
So
if you wanted coffee.
What was the cost of a burger? Like a burger meal?
A meal?
Yeah, like burger, fries, drink.
$1.50.
No, again.
Yeah, I mean, totally different. I get it. And inflation accounts for some of that. But but if you look at the real thing that I was talking about was the cost of education. So if a young person wants to go off to a regular university, not a community college, something like that, but a regular university, it's thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars per semester, before books, before housing, before anything, before even trying
before you get a job.
Yeah, exactly. Before any of that. So when somebody comes back out of college, they're dependent upon hopefully their parents have done a good enough job and not been, stricken blind by the crisis from 15 years ago or whatever. So, but that's what ends up happening. That's why everybody talks about their basement kids and things like that and the age. So I understand it. I don't disagree with it. And I know we're going way off the beaten path as usual, but I do believe that underneath a lot of this stuff, if we would look at causation, or causality, I should say, ahead of time and say, what is it that creates each one of these age pockets to do these radical things and become the way they are, you would find that it's the same.
A small, powerful group of individuals who own about 99.9% of all the wealth in the world, who are utilizing brainwashing techniques such as media manipulation to try and influence everyone to move in a certain direction so they can sell at the highs and buy at the lows, and no one would be the wiser until the advent of the internet, in which all the major media corporations are super pissed off now because it's free information, or the free network exchange of information, as opposed to the very controlled stranglehold, a hand around a gooseneck.
Right. And so if information is now free, then you have to manipulate the underlying information to make it look one way or another.
Did you see Dr. Sanjay Gupta's interview with Joe Rogan?
I did not. I heard about it, though.
Dear God,
I heard it was
great. Funny. It was so fucking funny.
Why is CNN telling everybody I'm having horse dewormer? And he's like, right?
He basically was like, do you think it's a problem that the company, the news organization that you work for is telling lies?
I love that. I mean, what a great question, right?
He was just, And look, I mean, I guess my whole point in all this is, and my position is, there very much, in my opinion, is a very obvious push by the power groups in society to try and drive the cattle, as they see, into certain directions. And that's why you see the uproar when people push back on certain things like investing, like what happened with Dogecoin, and what was the other AMC, and all the other stocks that people just held on to and said, fuck you guys, we're not going to play your game. Yeah. And there very much is a game. Now, to what extent that game is, no one knows.
Well, you found out
that
they can pull the plug on that game.
Of course they can.
They only let you take it so far as an independent individual.
And
I kind of take offense to what you were saying about chattel, by the way.
Cattle?
I am a bull.
You said chattel?
Well, it's chattel, tomato, cattle,
talking cattle? Is that a thing?
Chattel. They're chatty.
Oh, my God.
Chatty Cathys.
The human cattle.
If there's a talking bull, there must be talking cattle, right? But you're kind of being, like, not culturally, but...
Would you rather I say a pack? You don't really herd packs. I mean, you can.
You can hear a pack, but you can't herd a pack.
Dear God. Okay, we're going to end this. But I do know for a fact who the power structure is, and everyone can laugh at me when I say this, but you know what? I have so far been right about the last 18 months. The Illuminati.
Well, that's exactly what I was just going to say. Because the power structure has to create the
Illuminati
secret society. Otherwise, everybody knows who they are. Right?
And what better place to hide than in 10 to 13 very wealthy families that always seem to be around all the historical people and always seem to be around all the historical events and always seem to be manipulating things with their billions and hundreds of billions of dollars. Weird.
If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's an Illuminati.
Yeah, well, we're probably going to be murdered after this episode.
Nobody knows who we are, though.
Well, they'll find us. They know. So, by the way, for all my listeners...
I thought you were part of the Illuminati.
No way. I would be part of the Freemasons. Because I would be a Mason if I was...
I told you, they're not called that anymore. They're called the cheap Masons. Discount Masons?
Your discount puns. We need to increase them. The dollar store is no longer the dollar store.
They created the Indianapolis 500.
That makes sense.
Right? Because it's called the Brickyard. No. I'm not, when I'm ornery as this, the jokes do not work at all.
You remember when Sean... shit.
Rooster Boy.
Oh, God. Well, what is this? 34? Minute 34? I'm going to have to beep things out. When the Rooster was on... Okay, cool.
30 minutes.
Wow. Okay, we got to make this fast. Jeez. Okay, so when the Rooster was on... when he reacted to your pun.
He was a clucking fool.
Yeah, well, he was definitely in the same boat as me when it came to some of the puns. But anyway, let's jump into our topic. So,
what does that mean?
Well, silence.
Does that mean I have to be quiet about?
You
puns?
have a very artsy way of punning. You're like you're like a very beautiful painting of puns.
I don't think it's about puns. I think I am a pundit.
Oh my God. Okay, we're going into our discussion on the.
By the way, I haven't heard back from Elon. If you're out there, I asked you to come on last week, and I haven't heard from you yet. I know you're busy on some satellite or fighting with Bezos about up his yonder and down your X and all that kind of stuff. But,
yeah. Okay, well, on that note, we're going to jump into the topic that we need to wrap up very quickly. So the Illuminati has been around, or supposedly has been around for quite a long time. It was initially started by Adam Weishaupt, who was born on February 6th, 1748, in the Electorate of Bavaria, or southern Germany. His father, Johann Georg Weishaupt, died when he was 5 years old. His father was a professor of law at the University of Ingolstadt. After his father's death, Adam came under the tutelage of his godfather, Johann Adam Freyer von Eichstätt, if you can't tell these people are German, who was also a law professor at the same university and was a strong proponent of the philosophy of Christian Wolf Ingolstadt, who is the founder of the university, and the Enlightenment, and a lot of his views kind of influenced Adam heavily with rationalism. Now, at the age of 7, Adam began his education at a Jesuit school, and he graduated from the University of Ingolstadt in 1768 at the age of 20 with a doctorate of law.
Nice. I bet you he didn't pay back his loans.
Yeah, it was probably free. Just kidding. He probably went. Well, actually, might have been.
He did become a professor right there in like 1772, and then he did marry.
He was wed. Yeah, he was wed too.
His wife's name was Afra.
Sachsenhofer of Eichstätt.
Sachsenhofer. I love Germanic languages. Yeah, I think they've got that harsh little.
Yeah,
sounds like they're choking on a schnitzel or something.
We have one German listener. I apologize dearly. I'm just kidding. To our one German listener. And I've been to Bavaria, so a very beautiful area. Now, what's interesting is after Pope Clement the 14th.
There's that Pope again.
Yeah. Suppression of the Society of Jesus in 1773, Weishaupt became a professor of canon law, a position that was held exclusively by Jesuits until that time. Now, on the 1st of May, 1776, Johann Adam Weishaupt founded the Illuminati. So, Adam... what am I saying? Johann's not supposed to be there. These notes are fucked. Adam Weishaupt founded the Illuminati in the Electorate Bavaria. He adopted the name of Brother Spartacus within the order.
Okay, that should have been the first clue right there.
Brother Spartacus?
My name is Brother Spartacus.
Kind of a flamboyant name.
Well, isn't he the dude that kicked... no, that's Spartacus was different than that. That was a different movie altogether. I was thinking of 300.
300, yeah, it wasn't Spartacus. Great movie.
He was Spartacan.
Hasn't aged well. The filming.
Most movies don't.
Yeah.
But the Illuminati has aged very well.
Supposedly. So now, even encyclopedia references vary on the goal of the order. No one really knows what the Illuminati was around for. So the New Advent said that the order was not egalitarian or democratic internally, but sought to promote the doctrines of equality and freedom throughout society, while other groups such as Colliers have said the aim was to combat religion and foster rationalism in its place.
Isn't it interesting how almost all of these things center around either a fight for or a change in religious doctrine and a secularism? Secularism? I don't know if that's quite a word. Secularist. Ism toward...
That would be paganism. Would be the term.
Paganism is more of a anti-religion religion, right?
But it's the worship of self.
Paganism has a lot of more kind of earthbound, gaiistic.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is secularism and paganism. There's a very fine line between the two.
Well, my point is that these societies, when they come about, oftentimes take a firm philosophical break from or derivation from known theological standards.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's almost like a quasi-religion that they're coming up with, but they're masking it with something else that looks secular.
Well, what's interesting, and you're right about that. I think that's the case. I think that's the case a lot of things with cults, with some religion. Even.
I think one that we should get into again. This will be for another podcast that has to do with
the Girl Scouts.
Mr. Hubbard. That we'll talk about is right down the same alley.
Yeah, that's always an interesting one. Interestingly enough, with the Illuminati, the actual character of the society was an elaborate network of spies and counter-spies. Each isolated cell of initiates reported to a superior whom they did not know, a party structure that was effectively adopted by some later groups. Now, Adam Weishaupt was initiated into the Masonic Lodge, which is very interesting.
Well, Jefferson was the same, right? He was in both.
Supposedly. Now, he was initiated...
Spy, counter-spy, right?
Yeah. He was initiated, Adam was initiated in Munich in 1777, and his project of illumination, enlightening the understanding by the sun of reason, which will dispel the clouds of superstition and of prejudice, was an unwelcome reform. So he came into the group of Masonry with views that were not looked upon kindly.
So
a little too radical.
They never gave him the top quality secret handshake, I think.
Yeah, which was a regular handshake.
You're out of here. I'm giving you the noogie.
Yeah. So, interestingly enough, as the Bull mentioned a second ago, Adam used Freemasonry to recruit for his own quasi-Masonic society. I can't say the word today. With the goal of perfecting human nature through re-education to achieve a communal state with nature, freed of government and organized religion. So Illuminati was very much an anti-government, anti-traditionalism type view on things, supposedly.
Sure.
Now, contrary to Immanuel Kant's famous dictum that Enlightenment and Weishaupt's order was in some respects an expression of the Enlightenment movement, but contrary to Kant's dictum, Enlightenment was a passage by a man out of his self-imposed immaturity through daring to make use of his own reason without the guidance of another. So his view was kind of a manipulated form of what the Enlightenment...
but reliance on self is what it sounds like to me.
Extreme reliance on self.
Extreme reliance on self, to your point a little bit ago, it's the religion of you or me, depending on your...
Paganism, yeah.
Well, paganism has outside kind of things they look to.
Not necessarily, no.
But what this sounds more like is using reason as your form of God, so to speak.
Well, that's the thing. Like when I talk about secularism and paganism, is not in the sense of what they worship, but in the sense of the ultimate determinant of that particular theology.
Sure.
So, certain paganistic groups, obviously, they have certain outside things that they worship, but at the end of the day, they want to become as like a god. Which is contrary to a lot of traditional theological views. Like Christianity has never, ever been under the presence of the person when they die becomes a god. Same with Islam is not Judaism. These things are very separated. You can't attain God.
Right. They may be
looking,
these structures on earth with these religions may be looking for a certain power on earth, but they differentiate that power on earth from the ethereal, godlike differential when they pass.
Yes.
Right? That's okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
So now, the Order of Illuminati prescribed in a great deal everything which the members had to obediently read and think. So Dr. Wolfgang Riedel has commented that this approach to illumination or enlightenment constituted, man, I can't talk, a degradation and twisting of the Kantian principle of enlightenment, as mentioned before. So it was a very corrupted view of what enlightenment traditionally was.
Right. In other words, take someone's philosophy and kind of change the direction of or the underlying theme of what they believe it should be. This goes back to what we were talking about last week, by the way, and how artwork or theology or the written word or all that kind of thing, poetry, I think was the example I used before, is the author, Kant, for instance, has a particular way of viewing something, is trying to get that across, and depending on somebody else's perception of it, they can change slight pieces of that and create an Illuminati.
Well, the beauty of the Enlightenment, or the whole premise of the Enlightenment, was really a freedom of expression, freedom of thought, within a somewhat moralistic ground. So obviously not in the sense that we can't do certain things, but in the sense that we should be open to other ideas, we should be open to science, we should be open to moral reasoning, we should be open to these things. And
which all sounds very reasonable.
Which is so wonderful about the Enlightenment. Now the problem with Adam and the Illuminati is they took that view, and Riedel wrote about this. He said that the independence of thought and judgment required by Kant's view of the Enlightenment was specifically prevented by the Order of the Illuminati's rules and regulations. So the Illuminati was more of an authoritarianist type of positioning on the Enlightenment. The Enlightenment takes place here, if it takes place at all, precisely under the direction of another, namely under the superiors of the order. So very much like a very rigid theological structure in that position, in the sense that if you question the order, you are out of line. If you ever deviate from the order's views or ideas, you are out of line, as opposed to what the Enlightenment preached.
It's funny because a lot of these things that create this air of negativity around these secret societies, etc., is the same thing, I believe, that makes them so successful and makes some of these, generational, in centuries worth of time.
Yeah. Because
there's such structure. And I think human nature abhors but requires structure. It's even as children, I think about this all the time. We would have neighborhood kids and stuff come over, and my wife would kind of rule the roost and say, "This is your parameters for playing here. You do this, this, and this. If I catch you doing this, you're sitting on the stairs until your mom comes get you." Mm-hmm. Things like that, and these kids would think they would hate that kind of thing, but they would come back for more. And it was probably because they were getting none of that at home, and they were getting some of it there. So I guess what I'm saying about this, and maybe that's a bad kind of story to tell around this to compare, but I think it's excuse me. I think that human beings require structure, and it's why I think one of the things in the United States that we've talked about many, many times, the rule of law, is so damn important. Because whether you believe in every rule being the right rule or not is beside the point. I think there has to be structure around how you go through your life in a certain way, because if you have no parameters, no structure at all, nothing to keep you from being and doing every wild thing that comes to your mind, then there's chaos.
Well, and that's really the differentiating factor with the views of the Enlightenment as opposed to the views of the Illuminati, and in a lot of ways the views of what people's misinterpretation of our government is. Rule of law is only, in my opinion, should ever be listened to as long as the laws and the rules are based around premise of logic and morality. Because if rule of law is just rule of law, listen to what I do as I say, then you're doing what the Illuminati wanted their members to do. So obviously there's some just premise behind, what your family and your wife said to the kids that came over, because they would obviously say, look, don't do this or there will be punishment. But there was reasoning as to why you shouldn't do this.
Well, sure. I'm not saying the law is arbitrary.
That's the difference.
Yeah, and I believe you're right, because a lot of these societies, a lot of these things that we talk about have rules that from the outside, when we look at them, we're like, what the hell is going on? Why? And it goes back to what you're saying, the good word for it is authoritarian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, interestingly enough, as Adam Weishaupt, developed the Illuminati. What he really wanted, as I mentioned a little bit ago, was to distance their thinking from government and from church. And in 1784, his writings were interpreted as seditious, and they were intercepted by the local government, and the society was banned. So supposedly, Adam lost his position at the university and fled Bavaria, living the rest of his life in exile. But supposedly, that's when the Illuminati ended. Now, his character and intentions have been variously assessed by a lot of people. Some people have taken a very negative view, one of which was Augustine Barruel, who believed that despite Weishaupt's goals that were about equality and liberty together with the most absolute independence are to be substitutes for all rights and all property, he saw this as dangerous rather than being beneficial. So he saw it as more of a very authoritarian grip on the views of the Enlightenment as opposed to otherwise. Now, John Robison regarded Adam Weishaupt as the human devil and saw his mission as one of malevolent destruction. Now, others viewed Weishaupt in a positive view, which is quite interesting. And this particular person is interesting. Thomas Jefferson, he wrote in a letter to James Madison considering Weishaupt as an enthusiastic philanthropist who believed in the indefinite perfectibility of man, and his intention was simply to reinstate natural religion and by diffusing the light of his morality to teach us to govern ourselves. Which is interesting because the suggestions that you said a little bit ago and what a lot of other individuals have said about Thomas Jefferson would say that he was on both ends, that he was a part of the Illuminati, but was also a Freemason trying to recruit people to the views of the
one of your first paragraphs that you went over, one of the first things you said was that it might have been authoritarian, but one of their processes, one of the things that seemed integral to being an Illuminati was this spy counter spy kind of scenario.
Yep. So
it would be, and it's the same with the Masons. We looked at all these founding fathers that were part of the structure of the United States. Illuminati, I'm sure, tried to do the same thing. Maybe not as successfully, maybe more successfully because they're more secret. I don't know. But the reality is anybody trying to promote their ideas is better than someone else's has to understand someone else's, and be inculcate.
Well, and that's what we do. A lot of governments do that. A lot of friend groups do that. People do it all the time.
All do it.
It's just the immersion of grouping and thinking. Now, what's interesting, Dr. Tony Page, someone who's pretty well read up on the Illuminati, he translated Adam Weishaupt's writings from Kurs Rechtfertigung meiner Absichten, which in German is a brief justification of my intentions. Page wrote, Weishaupt's plan was to educate Illuminati followers in the highest levels of humanity and morality, basing his teachings on the supremacy of reason, allied with the spirit of the golden rule of not doing to others what one would not wish done upon themselves. So that if the Illuminati alumni subsequently attained positions of significance and power, such as in fields of education and politics, they could exert a benevolent and uplifting influence upon society at large. His project was utopian and naively optimistic, and he himself was certainly not without flaws of character, but neither he nor his plan was evil or violent in and of themselves. It is one of the deplorable and tragic ironies of history that a man who tried to inculcate virtue, philanthropy, social justice, and morality has become one of the great hate figures of the 21st century conspiracy thinking.
That's an interesting
Notice
paragraph.
It said social justice.
Yeah, well, I mean, basically, this guy's whole underpinning philosophy was think things through. Mm-hmm. I can't disagree with that at all. Yeah, we've talked about that a million times. The emotional outburst, this whole movement where everybody's got to be empathetic toward one another, and changing the definition of empathy just to make that happen. What they're talking about here is using reason as your basis for other things. Now, like most things, though, it can go off the rails.
Yeah,
and that's where the authoritarian part comes in, I think.
Yeah, well, the Illuminati is very, very well known, at least when it comes to their beliefs, and some of the famous people that have been involved. Now, people like Alex Jones, he was able to infiltrate one of the Illuminati's subgroups called Bohemian Grove, which is a place where a lot of elites have gathered. It's in Northern California. They gather once a year, and they kind of rub elbows. And according to Alex Jones, it's just a giant gay orgy.
I was going to say Bohemian gives you a different kind of thinking.
Yeah. And they use symbols like owls, and obviously people in the Illuminati, they hid behind fake names, pseudonyms to stay anonymous. A lot of hierarchy was involved in the Illuminati to recognize rank, very similar to the Freemasons, except in the sense that there was more terminology. So novice, Minerval, illuminated Minerval, these were terms in the Illuminati to tell you, what ranks were. And oddly enough, even though I don't believe this, it was stated that they did not accept people over the age of 30 years old because it was presumed they were no longer open-minded.
Well, no, that's because they were the inventors of that TV show. The main characters on the very old TV show, 70s, 80s, Logan's Run, was structured by the Illuminati. And when you turned 30 in that show, you ascended to the top of the dome you lived in and disappeared.
Really got to work. We've got to get the references. We got to boot them up.
Logan's Run?
In the 70s.
Okay.
Oh, I've never seen it. I've never seen it.
Well,
I've never seen it.
Why haven't you seen it?
Because it was in the 70s.
I thought you loved classics.
Oh, we turned on this weird horror movie last night that was really boring. And it sounds terrible, but it was from the 60s, late 60s.
Oh, boy.
And it was like the Chamber of Dr. Sadism or something like that on Amazon.
I have no idea what that is.
It was so stupid. It was so bad. And here's the thing: is you'd expect like really high levels of inappropriateness with that.
Logan's
name.
Run was terrible, but it was a precursor to shit you see all day long. Now.
Sure, but nobody.
I
don't know.
I am not that freaking old, man.
I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying I have no idea what that is. I have no idea.
Well, your generation, your demographic.
Now,
should know these things.
Okay, well, you tell me what the rank and level of Charizard is from Pokemon, and I will be able to agree with you there.
Pokey who?
Yeah, exactly.
I know who Pokemon is.
Pokemon, if you do. Yeah, if you were
tomato,
yeah,
Pokemon, Pokemon.
So I liked your analogies. I just think that one was old. That one
Wolf
was an
is
old
full
one.
of shit. Let's put this right out there.
A little bit. So strangely enough, they did involve people under the age of over the age of 30, and they were also defined to be anti-royal, more like revolutionaries and world leaders. Which again, this all is so similar to a lot of the movements today. Weird. Now, despite the above's mentioning, I did some research on some notable Illuminati members, and I've listed some below. Now, the first one is Baron Adolf von Hnig. He was Adam's right-hand man. He helped expand the group from the 5-man secret society to an organization well into the thousands, and he also helped implement that hierarchical structure that I mentioned a little bit ago, associated with degrees, classes, and secret symbolic names. His was Philo. Albert Pike.
God, they got nicknames.
They have nicknames, very cute ones.
Hi, Philo.
Yeah. Albert Pike was one of the main people responsible for the concept of the New World Order. He was also thought to be a part of the Illuminati. Thanks to a vision that was revealed to him, he outlined the original blueprints for the Third and Final World War back in the 1800s. Blueprints that, according to conspiracy theorists, are still being followed today, which is quite interesting. Never read those. I don't even know if I could, but very interesting that...
Is Albert Pike the what they named Pikes Peak after in Colorado?
I'm not sure.
It sounds familiar to me.
Maybe.
But I'm not positive.
Now, obviously, there's another one. A lot of these people are very old individuals, so some of our listeners, you may not know who these people are. Another one was Edward
They all
Mandel.
watched Logan's Run.
God. A lot of the next one was Edward Mandel House. So during the Wilson administration, Woodrow Wilson's administration from 1913 to 1921.
Tool, by the way.
Yeah, he was a douchebag. Edward Mandel House allegedly held a lot of great power during that time. He founded the Council of Foreign Relations, which is still in place today, in 1921, which is a non-profit think tank that conspiracists believe to be the strongest American branch of the Illuminati. The CFR apparently is believed to be in place to destroy USA's freedom and independence from the inside out. Take from that what you may. Another one is David Rockefeller. The Rockefeller family has been notorious for being involved with secret societies. David Rockefeller was the grandson of John D. Rockefeller, and David was known for his foreign political connections, striking secret deals behind closed doors. When he died in 2017, he was worth $3.3 billion. Henry Kissinger, former U.S. Secretary of State, he was also closely related to David Rockefeller. He's also thought to be a part of the Illuminati. Queen Elizabeth II. Theorists believe that Queen Elizabeth runs a cloning center where she replicates celebrities to help fulfill the Illuminati's vision of the New World Order. Why, you may ask? Because clones are obedient. Also, she's supposedly an extraterrestrial reptilian humanoid, which I believe that last part. I think that's true.
Okay, now we're in the zone. Now we're
Are we in the zone?
I think we are.
Well, after the last 18, after the last 2 years,
are, right?
Yeah, they're in your neck.
No, do you know what a sleeve stack is? You don't.
From that one movie that TV show we watched,
Land of the Lost.
No,
that's what it's from.
I was thinking of the other one when the guy like came back.
They're lizard people.
Yeah, but the guy that came back and had like a little stack in his neck. That's why. I thought
carbon neutral.
Carbon fiber. No, carbon fiber.
No, the
altered
carbon stack. Altered carbon.
Altered carbon.
Yeah. Okay.
And obviously there's the Jacob Rothschild. The Rothschild family has just been thought to be a part of the Illuminati for a long time. They are a family of billionaires. But historically speaking, it's only assumed that the Illuminati really only had mild success of world domination and influence. Although many conspiracy theorists today speculate that they were so successful they control the world today in the shadows, which, I mean, there's a lot of...
Apparently there's like 12 or 13 secret societies that control all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the World Bank is the first one.
So, yeah, and I think that that's the case. I mean... Yeah. So I think that that's the case. I think that that's a possibility. Now, do I think it's plausible? Probably not, but I think it's possible. I mean, there's a lot of money out there, and a lot of people. There's a very small level of individuals, as posited by the far left, that control all of it. Now, what's interesting is not a lot of people are really sure what happened to the original Illuminati after they were banned. The Duke of Bavaria in 1785, Karl Theodor, banned secret societies in general because they threatened serious punishment for members who should continue. Historians argued they completely disappeared after that. So the suggestion is because they were banned at that time in southern Germany, they didn't continue. I call bullshit on that. However, documents found in high-ranking members' homes confirmed some of the most outrageous Illuminati myths. They did have dreams of complete world domination, and they use the same tactics today that we would see in a modern-day cult.
Well, the Wolf and Bull kind of feel the same way about world domination.
I don't want world domination.
Sure.
No, I just want...
That's not what you said off air.
No, I don't want world domination at all. That's boring. And certain events historically would prove that this may be the case, that the Illuminati didn't disappear in 1785. In 1789, George Washington, who was a very public and famous Freemason, drafted a letter in where he wrote about the Illuminati threat. His letter acknowledged this as something that had been narrowly avoided, but he spoke about it without hesitation and with truth, spurring on the conspiracy theory. So at the time...
Yeah, very interesting. Again, Martha had all this shit. I'm telling you, it's buried somewhere.
Maybe. It could be. I would think she probably burned it. I mean, if it was that legitimate of a threat, I would think she burned it. Now, interestingly enough, this ties back into Thomas Jefferson. So he was accused of being in the Illuminati during the spring of 1798, where anti-Illuminati propaganda was going strong. Historians argue that these accusations of Jefferson are baseless, because of course they would. Jefferson was first labeled an Illuminati member by Reverend Jedediah Morse, the pastor of First Church of Charleston, Massachusetts. He accused Jefferson, the new presidential candidate for his opposing party. Federalists used the Illuminati spin to fight against Jefferson's run for president. This rhetoric seemed to fizzle out as a political phenomenon.
Yeah, he very well could have been part of the Illuminati, but that whole political thing, it's funny because we look at today and some of the shit that's said about each candidate by the other, administration or candidate itself, and it's the same way. Somebody's a trope for China, or somebody's a trope for Russia, or this or that. Fuck. I mean, how can you tell reality at all?
You can't. One thing I can say, though, is there are some evidences, in my opinion, of the existence of that. I mean, obviously, there's a nugget of truth somewhere within all that information. I mean, the Facebook page for the Illuminati has 3.4 million likes.
And we know that Facebook is a secret society in itself and runs the world.
Well,
along with Google.
Well, there's also been a lot of celebrities who have been accused of it, specifically ones that I can think of, Jay-Z, Beyonce, Kanye West. They obviously have acknowledged how stupid these rumors are, but the funny thing about all this is people talk about how ridiculous this stuff is, and then they come to find out through stuff like, WikiLeaks leaks and stuff like that, in which a lot of this stuff was, true.
I think there's an innate human need for, struggling to lord one person's or one group's power over another. And I think people say all kinds of shit.
Yeah.
Now, they may get canceled today for saying it, but my point is that all this stuff comes out, and all of it can be viewed in the rearview mirror as something more than it is or less than it is.
Yeah.
How do we know?
Well, you can tell by where the areas you can't criticize or question. When I brought up the WikiLeaks thing, I was a specific reference to Henry Kissinger, who, as we talked about earlier, was closely in relations to David Rockefeller. During the WikiLeaks release in 2016, a lot of those top secret deals with Rockefeller were released during that release, that leak. Mm-hmm. Now, what's so funny is the retaliation and the retaliatory nature on behalf of the United States government to Edward Snowden over WikiLeaks is something that should be questioned.
Not Snowden, you're talking about
WikiLeaks?
Julian
Assange.
Assange.
Are you sure? I'm pretty sure Snowden was a part of that too.
Well, he was certainly part of it, but I thought you meant the
Julian Assange, and they both played a part in it. The reason I picked Snowden is just because he has sought asylum in, I think specifically he's in Russia right now.
Well, I don't know. He didn't seek asylum there.
He ran away.
He was trying to get somewhere else.
Yeah.
I can't remember the story that I heard about that, but he was trying to get down to South America, and the United States blocked his transport to get through Cuba to there.
Yeah.
So he ended up in Russia instead. That's why he ended up over there. Which was perfect for the United States, because then they could make it out that he was
a bad guy.
Yeah.
Which, and granted, if the Illuminati is a legitimate real entity,
probably is.
I think it probably has some credence there. Now, I don't know if it's to the level that people think it is.
Look, here's all you have to know out there, guys. We have spycraft is a real thing. Is it 007? No. Does it have that flavor? Yeah. Is it real people doing real things that lie for a living? Abso-frickin-lutely.
I would say that it's probably pretty close to 007, depending on circumstances. You look at what happened.
What I'm saying is you can't get 50 people shooting machine guns at you and not get shot by anybody, right? That's what happens with 007. I'm just saying it's not the movies, but spycraft in espionage, whether it's corporation to corporation or government to government or society to society or religion to religion, it's been going on since the beginning of time, and it's how power shifts all the time. So anybody that thinks this stuff doesn't happen and that we're just this civil society that keeps evolving and moving and its structure along through time
naive.
is thank you.
Stupidly naive. And I don't mean that they can't change their ways, but I think the real problem that people have, and the thing I've always questioned, is when you can't question something, why? Why can't you question it? Why can't we question the various movements that we make in certain areas when it comes to our government? Why can't we question certain groups in society? Why can't we make decisions?
Should be able to question all of them.
Well, and that's
especially here.
Well, that's the premise of the Enlightenment, is we should be able to question all of them. So when you have groups of individuals and groups of powerful people that react in such a way as if their decisions and authority is unquestionable and undeniable, that's when you have issues that arise.
And we're having those very things.
Mm-hmm. Right now,
people are masking it behind other things, but that it's still happening. Wasn't there a new executive decision done today or yesterday about the whole $600 or above bank account thing?
Oh, yeah. And
these things are coming out quicker than anything I've ever seen.
Because billionaires can become billionaires by withdrawing at $600 at a time.
Right. It has nothing to do with looking at the 1%. Nothing to do with it.
And and that's why I get so frustrated and confused with the individuals that just gobble up whatever the media agencies say, is because those are such shallow, dumb arguments. The group that's telling you something, that is telling you, listen to me, and waving their arms and screaming at the top of their lungs, is normally the group that has the power and doesn't want you to have it.
Right.
It's like with anything. I mean, if you want to get someone's attention, you provide them with something that is enticing and interesting to look at. Prime example is the $3.5 trillion deal. We're gonna include all the free stuff for you, while not telling you about the other stuff that's gonna endow you in slavery and feudalism to the federal government.
I think my fuse has been short because I just see things. It's, you know what? You used to have some negative stuff that would hit you, and you'd have time to absorb and breathe and understand and find which path to take to either maneuver or combat or whatever you do. But now these things come so fast, over and over, one thing after another. It's like you can't. Our speed of life has changed. To your point earlier, when you were saying technologies and the generational stuff that's changed, the informational flow, the speed of all this comes at you so fast, with everybody saying that it's the most important thing every time everything happens, that you have no time to absorb anything. You have only time to try to persevere.
Why do you think people no longer think with their brains today? It takes time to think about things. It takes time to formulate logical premises about certain subjects and topics. If you don't let the opposing party speak, and if you don't let them think, you're never going to have any opposition.
Well, this goes back to what we talked about months ago, affect heuristic, and how there's a way to efficiently maneuver your thinking and using your emotions first. Because it's simpler, it's easier to do that from a decision-making standpoint than to actually absorb and think through something logically. And it would do all of us much better is if we had the time and wherewithal to make decisions from a logical standpoint. Don't ignore your emotions; they're important. Everybody should feel what they should feel. I'm not minimizing that at all, but it shouldn't be your decision-making standard. Your decision-making standard should be from a point of logic. Your logic may be wrong or right. It may change in the future. You may change somebody else's view of yours in the future. But it still should be the tenet from which you make your decisions.
Hey everyone, this is The Wolf speaking, wrapping up yet another episode of the Wolf and Bolt podcast. We appreciate you spending your time with us, and we can't wait for you to hear our next episode. If you like what you heard, tell your friends and family, your neighbors, the local bartender, your doctor, your boss, and hell, you can even tell us. By leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, you can directly help build the Wolf and Bull cult. The Wolf and Bull family. We can be found on most major podcasting platforms and social media. So what are you waiting for? Scoot on out of here and enjoy your day. But you should probably leave us a review first. But make sure to enjoy your day. But don't forget to leave us a review. Okay, bye.